Hello, MS Malik 681 here. I've been addicted to a new game engine I've been testing called Scorpion Engine. Basically, I had Amiga back in the day, and I used to play games on it on my Amiga 600. And one game, Street Fighter 1, I was very disappointed with. I thought it could have been so much better. So I'm trying to make something a bit better than the original Amiga version of Street Fighter 1 with Scorpion Engine. I'm just going to quickly show how to get this set up for Linux, because I'm currently using Linux to run this. So it is a Windows only program for now, but you could just run it under Wine, but not like an old version of Wine. You need to make sure you've got Wine staging or an up-to-date version of Wine. So you can check it by doing the command wine hyphen version, and it will tell you what version you got. I'm using version 7.17. Most of the time it's very stable. If you leave it for too long without touching it, it could lock up and just you have to shut it down and restart it. But Scorpion Engine saves all the time. Whatever you're doing, is any action you do, you can save. So you've got to be careful not to accidentally delete your own work. So I've made a little bash script like type shortcut to Scorpion Engine. I've made a game projects folder for myself, and in there I've made a run.sh. Let's open that with the text editor, and you can see it just CDs into the directory where Scorpion Editor is, and then it will just run Wine and then Scorpion Engine or whatever the name of the executable is. I've done it in double quotes to make sure it doesn't get messed up, and whenever you're doing a bash script, just do this at the top and make sure it's executable by right clicking on it and going into properties. You can make sure you can run that. So yeah, let's just run that now. Run, and two other things as well. There's two other programs you should really use with this. So you should install Tiled, I think it's called. So I've got the executable for that here somewhere. Tiled, here it is. No, that's the Linux version. Well, if you download the Windows version, it's in MSI format. You might have to look online how to install an MSI format. I always have to look. I can never remember it off the top of my head. So get that installed, and so with Scorpion Engine, you want to download the FSUAE emulator for Windows. I've put it in the tools directory. You can put it wherever you want, and you just want to navigate to the executable, the exe on there. When you run FSUAE, so not WinUAE. I've tested this; takes way too long to open. FSUAE is a better option, and I always select A2 Amiga 1200 because that starts up faster. So I've got my project here, unfinished obviously. Did want to go over some technical stuff as well with some other users. Basically, I was having trouble with having to write code and having to write that code again for the characters facing in opposite directions. So I found a way to write the code once and you don't have to do it again. So let's just show you a quick preview of my game and the fact that I'll just explain how the code works behind it quickly. So this might seem like it's taking a long time to load, but WinUAE takes much longer. Maybe because they're running through Wine and this isn't Windows. So I've got just basic walking. I had jumping working, but there's something I want to change on it, so I've got rid of that. And when you go to the other side, look, it keeps walking, it's facing that way, but it does change direction when it goes into its idle animation. And ducking animation does also work for now. So I've been working on directional inputs for the special moves. So I've got a fireball, just simple down, forward, and punch. It does, or attack. It works. And if I go to the other side, just do another one of them. So the input has switched to this side, but I've only done the input code once. Again, with any other move, the the input works on both sides, but I only have to write the code once. And also, if you see there with that move, he moves forward. The code for making him move forward, again, also only write it once. And that as well. So let's just get that done on this side as well. Oh, Dragon Punch is so hard to pull off, just like the arcade. Anyway, let's get out of that. So the way I did that was, you got your animations. So all my animations for my characters are facing right, and they can all be flipped, pretty much. If you have animations that can't be flipped, that could cause a problem. But with mine, pretty much all of them need to be flipped. So I've got no problem with this technique that I'm using. So if we go into code, so if I go to my startup, this is where I set all my variables that I'm going to use in the game. So here I've got a fireball input, that's for my inputs. These are the main two that affect the direction. So I've got one for called dir, just dir, keep it simple. 0 value, and 0 means you're facing right, 1 means you're facing left. I'll explain what that means now. So if we go into code, we are in code. If we go to a move like if I go to my on timer script, this is a script that actually has the inputs and executes the code. So first I need to check which direction my character is. So I've got a check direction code block, which basically checks your player X against var4, which another code basically checks for the first enemy actor, and it will store their X location in var4. So my actors, my enemy actors, Retsu, where are you? They have var2 set to 3. All my enemy actors will have var2 set to 3, so this code can identify which one's an enemy. So look, it checks if var2 equals 3, then it will record it. Otherwise this little code here runs over every actor, and it could possibly get the X variable of anything on the screen, even your fireball or whatever. So you record that first to confirm which way you're supposed to be facing, and then if you're facing right, so if your X value is lower than your enemy's X value, set dir to 1. No, if your X value is greater than your enemy's, then set dir to 1, which is left, and set velo to -1. So I got another velo, short for velocity direction. 1 is right, -1 is left, and by default I'll leave it on 1. But that gets checked on a on timer script for Ryu. So Ryu has a Ryu on timer script, which is what we're looking at. And the Ryu on timer script will confirm which way you're supposed to be facing with check direction. So like I said, for left, dir will be set to 1, velo -1. If you're facing right, dir will be set to 0, and velo to 1. So now if we go into the on Ryu on timer, okay, so here's the fireball input. So you check if Y is 1, which is down, and then make sure X isn't holding forward. So that has to be neutral or 0. Then you go to second point where X equals velo. What this means is if you're facing right, the X control is also 1 if you're facing right, and if you're facing left, the X control will be -1. So velo matches that perfectly, which is amazing. But so yeah, that's where velo helps you. And then when you actually go in to execute the animation, so I've said here, play Ryu fireball _R, which is the name of one of my animations. Ryu _fireball R. If I can find it, it's around here somewhere. There he is. Because he's flipped, whatever his number is, +1 to that will be his left facing number animation. So I have looked at the Ryu _fireball _R variable in I've basically displayed the output as text on the screen, and it actually shows a number. It doesn't show the animation name, it shows a number. So like I said, if you add 1 to that, that will be the flipped version of this animation. So when you do play Ryu Fireball underscore R plus dir, now if you're facing right, dir is 0, so it will just bring back the number to this exact animation. But if you're facing left, dir is 1, so it will add 1 to this animation and switch to the left facing version. So right now I don't have to write this code again for him facing the opposite direction, because dir, doing the plus dir, will move it if it needs to be moved. Because I've got on timer script always checking your direction and updating that dir variable. The same with the velo that I mentioned here. So with X you're checking if it's equal to forward, so velo will be forward, because when you're facing right it'll be 1, and when you're facing left it'll be -1, so it'll match whichever way you're facing. Also I've got the Tatsumaki or the hurricane kick input, which involves pressing left on the X value. So if I've done it here, so I've done if controller X equals velo times by -1. So basically if I show you that on a calculator, so let's say if your velo is 1 for facing right, if you times that by -1, that becomes -1. It goes to the opposite. So with the Tatsumaki or the hurricane kick, you've got to press down backwards. So you want to figure out which direction is backwards. So again, let's say you're facing -1, so you're facing left, and then you times it by -1. That becomes 1, which is facing right. So this code again, I would normally have to mirror it and do it for the opposite direction. Now you don't have to do that, because this little code here does it for you. So I mean that's pretty much it. Anyone who's advanced enough should be able to grasp that. If you've got any questions you can ask me. So I've only just figured that one out and I tested it today. It seems to be working okay. There was another issue I had. Other users who are making Scorpion games might not have this issue, but I had this issue because I'm making a fighting game. I need separate actors for facing each direction, because when you press left or right on these actors, they flip around and face the other way. Whereas if you look for my animation, right is facing right, and for my animation left is also facing right. So in one-on-one fighting games, when you press back away from your enemy, you will walk backwards. You won't actually face the other way. So I kind of ignored the directional variable there. I've made my own direction variable. So obviously on the left version of Ryu, his idle animations are both facing left. So the way I got around this was these actors are put into alphabetical order. So I needed to make sure to use the same trick I did before with the +1. I need to make sure the right version of the actor comes first and then straight after the left one. So I've renamed them with numbers before their names to force them go into an exact order that I've set. So you know, Ryu facing right, +1 would be Ryu facing left. Ryu ducking right, +1 would be Ryu ducking left. Now there's a problem with the actors. You can't just say change to actor 002 underscore Ryu underscore right plus dir like you did with the animations. You actually have to say the number of this guy. So I mean, I've numbered them all anyway, so it makes it easier. So let me just show you. I've done it with my ducking code. Ducking code is around there. There it is. So if you press Y, which is down, it will check if your character type is not already ducking, which is animation 4. Is that right? And actor number 4 is Ryu ducking right. So yeah, so you check if he's not that one. So let's just double check that. Plus dir. So again, the plus dir will tell you if it's which way you're, based on the way you're facing in the game. So obviously your Ryu or my Ryu will update facing left or right. So that dir will make sure that you're checking the right duck animation, and obviously if he's not in that animation, it will force him into that animation, which is or not animation, that player. It will actually change his actor to actor number 4 plus dir. So again, it will be actor 4, but if he's facing left, it will be actor 5, which will be the +1 facing him left. So again, that's how I've done the directional code, and avoided having to write this whole line again or mirroring it. Again, for making him get up, I did the exact same thing. So actor number 2 plus dir. So if you see actor number 2 is Ryu facing right, so you always base it on Ryu facing right, because the +1 will handle him turning left, and the right one has to come first in the order. So yeah, that's it. It's a great little program. I'm enjoying it right now. I really need to get back to my Open Pizza Age projects, but yeah, I just want a quick show off what I'm doing, and show how to get this running on Linux as well, because I was a bit disheartened to see that it was a Windows only release, but maybe in the future Eric will be releasing a Linux version. And like I said, through Wine, it seems to be working just fine. So if you leave it alone for too long, it does lock up, but everything you've done would have saved, so it's not a big issue. But thanks for tuning in, guys, and see you in the next one.